This video was voted into existence by our Patreon supporters. If you would like to tell us which video to make every month, head on over to patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower. But more on that later.
Jean is off-world, fighting dominators on Rann. We need you to step up.
I had Hawkgirl try to bash the hell out of it with that big-ass mace of hers just before she went back to Thanagar.
Most of the Green Fascist Corps are currently fighting some obscure war on Rann.
Ever since that fateful day, March 30th, 2019, the release of Justice League vs. the Fatal Five, you know, the movie all those clips just now were from, we as the DC Animated Universe fandom have been wondering, what the hell are they even talking about? As part of our research for videos covering this movie what feels like a lifetime ago, we contacted the film's writer Eric Carrasco. Something Justice League fans had been curious about at the time was the whereabouts of other League members not featured in the film or even mentioned, like the Flash or J'onn J'onzz. And while we didn't get an answer for the former, Eric did pass off this bit of info that unintentionally, or intentionally depending on how devious Eric truly is, sparked a number of questions in the minds of us data boys, which reads as such. In my own personal headcanon, J'onn was gonna be with Shiera and John in a version of the Rann-Thanagar War. The what now? Look, I'm not what you would call extremely comic book savvy. At the time, I had no idea what a I'll never say it right. That thing was. Oh good, I have naked Starboy scene behind me at this point. DC Comics is chock full of big events throughout its almost 90 years of existence. And as someone who grew up exclusively consuming superhero content through cartoons and movies, and didn't seriously start reading comic books until like 5 or 6 years ago, But now that this Rann-Thanagar War, there we go, was part of DC animated history, I needed to know what it was all about. So today, we're gonna go through what happened in the 2005 DC Comics event Rann-Thanagar War and its associated tie-ins, and then try and figure out what this thing might look like in Justice League Unlimited form. First off, in the year, whatever year it is when you're watching this video, a YouTube viewer clicked the little thumbs up button below and subscribed to the channel it was playing on so that they didn't miss any other upcoming DCAU videos every single week. Unless this is a year in the future in which YouTube has done away with likes and subscriptions in favor of something most people consider to be less good, then this person did whatever the equivalent of what I'm saying is. Okay, but seriously, just in case Eric had an entire plotline for the DCAU Rann-Thanagar War in his head that he was willing to share with us, I chatted with him a little more and he elaborated at least slightly. In my head, it was going to explore John Stewart and Shiera Hall's relationship, Vixen, etc., largely follow the comic book, but really hone in on Adam Strange. Beyond that, I'm still hoping for more JL and hoping that I will be a part of it, so I'm saving the specifics for that impossible dream. But go with God, and go we shall. So what is the Rann-Thanagar War at all? Well, to start this all off, since we do have a resident comic book guy on the channel, I'm gonna pass this off to him. In our first ever iteration of a brand new segment, Clarissa Explains It Ted. Take it away, Ted.
Wouldn't it make more sense to be called Ted Explains It All?
Huh? I'm sorry, it's not my next part of the video yet. Carry on.
Okay, so fair warning, there are going to be spoilers for these comics you see on screen right now. I'll give you 3 more seconds to choose whether you care about getting them spoiled. Time's up. For starters, we need to be familiar with a few characters of interest. First, there's the Hawks, Hawkman and Hawkgirl. If you're a DCAU fan, you probably already know these ones. Their history in the animated universe definitely differs from their comic book counterparts, but if you've seen the 2 GLU episodes where we learn about their connection via reincarnation, you're basically up to speed. Another main player is Adam Strange, whose DCAU ties lie with the 25th and 26th issues of Justice League Adventures, as well as Justice League Unlimited number 4. Adam Strange was an Earth archaeologist who was accidentally teleported across the galaxy to the planet Rann, where he met Rainian scientist Sardath, and fell in love with and eventually married Sardath's daughter Alana. The Rann-Thanagar War also involves various Green Lanterns, a handful of Titans characters, Blackfire, and even Brainiac too, but we'll get to all that shortly. Years before the actual Rann-Thanagar War event from 2005, DC Comics published a story which ran through showcase number 101 to 103 in March 1978 by Jack C. Harris and Al Milgrom and featured Hawkman, Hawkgirl, and Adam Strange. Since this story was published before 1985's Crisis on Infinite Earths, which threw continuity into a blender, its current canonicity in DC Comics is questionable at best, but it seems prudent to bring up what was essentially the first Rann-Thanagar War. In that 3-part story, each segment titled a different reference to past Adam Strange comics. A war between the two planets breaks out when the evil space pirate Kanjar Ro, who you may remember from his early Justice League appearance, pays off both Ranians and Thanagarians into attacking each other and takes Alana, Adam Strange's wife, hostage. Adam Strange teams up with Hawkman and Hawkgirl to rescue Alana and stop Kanjar Ro, and the reigning queen of Thanagar, Hyathis, who did appear in Justice League Adventures number 15 alongside Kanjar Ro no less, as well as Shadow Thief, another DCAU baddie you may recognize, though a different version of the character. Following this story, Adam Strange would return to Rann on several occasions to help end the civil wars that had erupted from these events. Though Rann, Thanagar, and the Justice League would interact a few more times, 26 years later would begin the true events that would steamroll into the comic story literally titled Rann-Thanagar War, beginning with Adam Strange Planet Heist. This was an 8-issue miniseries that ran from November 2004 to June 2005, drawn by Pascal Ferry and written by Andy Diggle, whose name you may recognize as the influence for the John Diggle character on Arrow, or more literally, John's brother Andy. In the story, Adam Strange finds himself stranded on Earth after missing the Zeta Beam that usually transports him back to Rann. Yeah, the teleporters on Rann are called Zeta Beams. Can we count this as a vaguely Zeta Project related video now? When Adam asks Superman for help, the Man of Steel reports that Rann has been destroyed in a supernova. Devastated, Adam goes searching for answers, but the mystery finds him first. A series of events leads to Adam discovering that Rann was in fact not destroyed, but simply moved to another dimension via an Omega Beam, no relation to Darkseid's eyeball lasers, in order to escape the Starbreaker, a cosmic vampire who feeds on planetary energy, who was defeated by the League in Justice League of America number 96 in 1972. However, Starbreaker was revived here by Thanagarian death cultist Shuri Valkyr. With the help of bounty hunters, the Omega Men, a few members of the Green Lantern Corps-like group the Dark Stars, and Brainiac 2's police force known as Legion, Adam Strange is able to save Rann, but only temporarily. In the chaos, Shuri Valkyr is killed, but not before her final act, teleporting Rann into the orbit of Thanagar, which starts a devastating chain reaction that will eradicate all life on the Hawk world, thus spinning into the titular Rann-Thanagar War.
Oh hey there, just taking a little break from the video to read some comic books here on my porch. There's nothing I love more than reading comics and just hanging out in my hammock in this beautiful sunshine, beautiful day. I wish I could do this with friends though. It's a little hard, you know, considering the virus and everything, but fortunately we have a Patreon page. What's better than a friend? Maybe a patron, I don't know. Go over there, check it out. It's patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower. We have so many perks there. Access to videos a day early, private chats with me, James, and Maddie, custom artwork. There's so much cool stuff over there. You need to go check it out. Some people already have. We have some new patrons this month I want to give a shout out to, including Aaron Howard. Welcome to the pack, Aaron. We've also got King Phoenix Games. He is a monarch rising from the ashes who's playing games with us. That's kind of cool. Peter from Denmark. Welcome, Peter. Only Peter from Denmark. If you are Peter from some other place, I am not including you. Not yet, anyway. Cody Morrissey. Those are the 4 new guys. Welcome to our Patreon. We're happy to have you. We've also got usual suspects here of Robert Sterling. Robert, did I say Robert? It's Robert. Aaron Young, Cameo Shyness, Cody Hazel Malik, Luke Mears, Mac, The Nerds with Attitude, and the late, great Richard Mon 12. He's not late, he's still alive. He's usually like 12 seconds late whenever we do Patreon hangouts. That's everybody. I'm gonna get back to my book. So, yeah, see you next time or later in the video or whatever. What are you still doing here? Go, get back to the video. Can't you see I'm reading?
Nope, it's not my next part of the video yet. I come back later to talk about fitting it into the cartoons. Get out of here!
Now, you may be aware that DC Comics has had about a dozen big events over the years with the word crisis in them. While I don't have time to differentiate, the one in 2005 was called Infinite Crisis. It began with a prologue-style one-shot issue called Countdown, which set the stage for 4 other series: the OMAC Project, Day of Vengeance, Villains United, and of course, the only one that really matters for this video, Rann-Thanagar War. This story by Dave Dave Gibbons and Ivan Reyes, starts out with Adam Strange traveling back to Earth to recruit Hawkman and Hawkgirl, since with their winged aesthetic, they may be of some help stopping the planetary conflict. Those who have managed to escape Thanagar's doom have settled on Rann, with high tensions from each group blaming the other for their situation, including the religious zealot death cult Thanagarians who worship an ancient Thanagarian god, Onamar Sen, who first appeared in JSA number 23 in 2001, one of the Thanagarian Seven Devils. While Onamar Sen seeks to draw life force from the thousands of dead Hawk people on Thanagar, the war between planets rages on, eventually evolving Green Lantern Kyle Rayner, who along with Kilowog has joined forces in an unlikely team-up with 50s hero Captain Comet. They manage to terraform what's left of Thanagar, saving the remaining entombed Thanagarians from Onamar Sen's zombified control. Adam Strange, Hawkman, Hawkgirl, and Hawkwoman, Shira Thal, come together to take on Blackfire, the murderous sister of Starfire, who has utilized this war for political gain. Rann and Thanagar call on their respective allies, which leads to the continued involvement of the Omega Men, Darkstars, and Legion, as well as Starman, Prince Gavin of Throne World. When Blackfire murders Shariathal, the Hawks find a common enemy, and Onamar Sen is destroyed after Adam Strange and Kyle Rayner plant Zeta Beam devices on different areas of Sen's body, ripping him apart and teleporting each chunk inside a different star. But when all seems to have finally come to a common conclusion, a rift in space appears, bringing a few more DC characters into the mix, as the Infinite Crisis special Rann-Thanagar War one-shot tumbles us into the big Infinite Crisis event. That's basically it. A lot of cosmic mumbo-jumbo that barely involves any DCAU relevant characters or scenarios. After Infinite Crisis concluded, echoes of the war played out in a few comic stories, from the famous 52 arc and a Countdown to Adventure, which culminated again in the follow-up Rann-Thanagar Holy War series. Luckily for you, we asked Eric Carrasco if that event made any impact on his story ideas for the DCAU version, and he said, never got that far. So thank God that's about 20 extra minutes of this video gone. Holy War deterred drastically from the previous war in its new direction by writer Jim Starlin, now focusing the Rann-Thanagar space opera on new antagonists, like the space warlord Sinar from Hardcore Station and the Darkseid demagogue substitute Lady Styx. But it's at least worth mentioning that Holy War and its surrounding events like 52 featured a team up of Adam Strange, Starfire, and Animal Man, in addition to more appearances by Hawkman, Prince Gavin Starman, Tigor of the Omega Men, and a new Captain Comet, as well as Bizarro and other weird characters, until the storyline was ultimately left in limbo after the Holy War follow-up series, Strange Adventures, due to the launch of the New 52. Thanks for that one. And in Infinite Crisis, Adam Strange briefly appears to request John Jones' help as Thanagar is attacking Rann, so that at least works out nicely. So just how close to the real deal could the animated universe version of the Rann-Thanagar War really be?
Thanks, Ted. Now that the boring stuff is out of the way, I can take it from here. What's funny is there's no more recorded footage of Ted, so he couldn't even refute that if he wanted to.
Actually, I recorded extra footage just in case you said something like that. It's not boring. You're boring.
So let's take a look at how much of the original comic would still hold up in the world of the Justice League Unlimited cartoon. For one, we can't rule out any characters that didn't appear in the DCAU prior to this, unless they directly contradict something in the established animated canon. The reason I set this rule is because, well, every character in the DCAU didn't exist until they did. What if we never got episodes with Lobo or Maxima or Darkseid even? Does that mean they 100% do not exist out there somewhere? No, you doofus. The main way we're gonna determine how much of this thing would or wouldn't work in the DCAU is by treating it as if the writers of the Rann-Thanagar War comics were trying to fit it into animated continuity, just like we do with other DCAU adjacent content, like Crisis on Two Earths, or Brainiac Attacks, or Batman The Adventures Continue. We'll see what still works and what doesn't. So let's start with Adam Strange Planet Heist, the story that kicks all this off. In the first issue, it's established that Adam already knows the Justice League. We could assume for the animated version that Adam Strange did meet the League in his Justice League Adventures appearances, if those canonically pan out. I'm figuring it out on Twitch every Tuesday, wink wink. Or in some other adventure off screen, since we know the League did plenty of unknown stuff between episodes. And by issue 6 of Planet Heist, we meet up with Vril Dox, Brainiac 2, probably obviously the son of Brainiac. And while we never saw him in the animated series, we do know Brainiac 5 is around by the Legion of Superheroes era, who says he exists due to the original Brainiac figuring out how to pass his programming down biologically. The original Brainiac also exists in this time period 1,000 years in the future, but that said, That's for a different video. So biological descendants of Brainiac would need to start coming into play at some point. Why not now? Most everything within Planet Heist is pretty doable. It's removed from Earth and the Justice League enough that there's little reason to believe slapping a Bruce Timm style skin on everything wouldn't work. It's the actual Rann-Thanagar War comic details that start to not really sit right. The Hawkman and Hawkgirl stuff in particular is pretty different from how things might play out in the DCAU's version of this event. Man, I really need names to differentiate the comic Rann-Thanagar War and the animated Rann-Thanagar War. How about War Original and Rannimated? I hate that. In the DC animated universe, as you probably know, we had Shayera Hall of Thanagar, Hawkgirl. Then eventually we got the introduction of the character Carter Hall, Hawkman, who believed himself and Shayera to be the reincarnated souls of ancient Thanagarian lovers. Just like with a handful of other characters in these cartoons, Hawkgirl and Hawkman's backstories were altered just enough to be notably different from that of their comic book counterparts. In the comics, the original Hawkgirl was also named Shayera Hall, but her name was changed to Shayera Thal and Hawkwoman after Crisis on Infinite Earths, and eventually a second Hawkgirl emerged named Kendra Saunders, who is the Hawkgirl we see in the Rann-Thanagar War event. My summation in that one single sentence is extremely limited in terms of the actual Hawkgirl history in DC Comics lore, but that would take an entire day to explain to you. I'll just let Comic Drake do that for me. Just know that by the time of this war, both Kendra and Shayera existed simultaneously as different characters, and in Rann-Thanagar War, as Ted explained, Shayera was killed by Blackfire. A lot of the stuff we get for Kendra and Shayera in this comic event just wouldn't work. Kendra's existence altogether doesn't track with DCAU Hawkgirl's narrative unless something crazy happened in the year-ish amount of time between JLU and the Fatal 5 movie, which seems like a lot to cram in, but hey, Jason Todd something, am I right? The stuff that would track from the comic event would be Hawkman being stationed on Earth and potentially Shayera's death. Now I know that's a lot to take in, but we can't discredit it completely. If we're attempting to make the Rann-Thanagar War stick as close as possible to the original, it's not off the table. I'll give you a minute to let that sink in. Would Eric kill her? I don't know. So we've got a pretty solid thing going. Not much of the core of this story doesn't work in the DC animated universe. Blackfire? We know Starfire exists out there somewhere due to cartoon hooters, so we can't dismiss her. The Dominators? Wonder Woman literally says they're part of this. Starman? Who's to say he couldn't be loyal to his home planet still? He even has this blue version of his costume in a JLU action figure release with his staff. On a surface level, the original Rann-Thanagar War, translated into Justice League Unlimited mode, works pretty okay. We get rid of Kendra Saunders, add a little Gordanian spice to the Thanagarian occupation, get Kilowog out of there since we know he's on Oa during Justice League vs. the Fatal 5, and you got yourself a fine-looking animated movie. And that's the thing. If the Rann-Thanagar War were ever to be shown on screen in the DCAU, it would likely have to be a feature film. Despite all the fan outcry, we're probably never gonna get a full animated series again in this universe. Which I say because of my track record for saying things will never happen and then they happen. It would probably have to be a single movie, and a movie form of these 15+ comic book issues would have to be pretty succinct. So gathering up all of the stuff we know Eric would want to put in, throwing in all the stuff that still works in DCAU canon, and ripping out all the stuff that doesn't, here's my pitch for the Rann-Thanagar War animated movie. We open on quiet outer space, twinkling stars and eerie music. Then it happens. Boom! An entire freaking planet teleports into Thanagar's orbit. Opening titles, Justice League, Rann-Thanagar War. Then a timestamp, 48 hours earlier. From here, things get pretty Adam Strange heavy. He's missed his Zeta beam to Rann and is lost in Gotham City, pursued by bounty hunters. He has a run-in with Batman, who gets the Justice League to help him out. J'onn J'onzz uses his telepathy to reach across the stars and discover Rann is gone, presumably destroyed by a supernova. Adam Strange, haunted by the loss of his family, goes to the site of Rann's former location with select members of the League in tow, where they discover not only radiation from the supernova, but strange energy particles. They're their investigation is interrupted by Shri Valkyr, who brings them aboard her ship. In this version, Hawkgirl knows her. She's an exiled radicalist who had been banished from the High Council years prior. Valkyr promises to lead them to Rann in exchange for the secrets of Zeta Beam tech, which Adam reluctantly agrees to. But when they discover the Omega Men captured aboard, Tygor reveals Valkyr had hired dozens of bounty hunters to look for traces of Zeta Beam energy across the galaxy, a proposition the Omega Men refused because of Valkyr's intent on starting intergalactic war. We see computer screens lining the bridge of her ship as she plots with dozens of alien faces, some familiar, some not. Kanjar-Ro, Blackfire, the Reptilians, the Khunds, the Dominators. It's during this portion of the film that we also spend a decent amount of time with the Green Lantern love triangle, as Vixen admires Adam Strange's dedication to his family and wonders when they might start their own, which of course is overheard by Shiera. But we don't have time to dwell on this, as the League and Omega Men make their explosive escape, leaving Valkyr and her crew to die in space, a fate Hawkgirl deems appropriate. The heroes take a breather on a nearby habitable planet so Green Lantern can recharge his ring, which they discover is the planet Kolu. There, they meet Brainiac 2, who everyone is immediately hostile toward, but come to mostly trust after Green Lantern recalls meeting Brainiac 5 in the future. Brainiac 2 is the result of Brainiac mating with a resident Koluan, and temporarily sparing the planet in order to allow his seed to blossom, an image Vixen says she really didn't need in her head. Brainiac 2 reveals he's managed to create a crude but accurate enough duplicate of Zeta Beam technology for the day when the OG Brainiac returns to claim his son and destroy Kolu, and notes that the particles found at Rand's former location are similar in nature to the Zeta Beam, suggesting the entire planet was moved. Adam recalls Sardath experimenting with Zeta Beam tech of that magnitude, but never getting it to work. Locking on to the particle signature, Adam Strange initiates Brainiac 2's Zeta Beam transport just as Shri Valkyr swoops out of nowhere and into the beam transfer with them. They burst out on the other side, on Rann. There stand Sardath, Alana, and Aaliyah, Adam's family, but their reunion must wait, as Valkyr goes straight for a large machine. Sardath tries to shut down his Omega Beam generator, but Valkyr is too quick and the entire planet is transported yet again into the orbit of Thanagar. The remainder of the film would take place later, during the events of Justice League vs. the Fatal Five, and deal with Adam Strange leading Rand's forces against the remaining tattered Thanagarian army, as the two factions have been clashing for some time. Amid the involvement of Starman and his forces from Throne World, the heroes attempt to stop the war before it escalates any further, while John Stewart contacts Kyle Rayner and select other Lanterns to try and halt Thanagar's impending destruction, a situation which evokes memories in Tomar-Re of his failure to save Krypton. Shiera is reminded of John's leadership and bravery, and a subplot surrounding their and Vixen's relationship is in full swing, with Vixen beginning to realize John and Shiera are meant for each other. But before long, Valkyr's forces are betrayed by the Dominators, who have been using this war as a distraction to occupy both planets. The Guardians of Oa deem this catastrophic enough for the Green Lantern Corps' further involvement. Hundreds of other Green Lanterns are dispatched from Oa, and Jessica Cruz is assigned as Sector 2A14's Lantern until John's return. Maybe she was previously powering, maybe she wasn't. That's for a different movie. By the end of this one, I'm not entirely sure. All the puzzle pieces are in place at this point, but the war would need to end in a different way than the comic version. They ain't gonna fight a big space demon. Maybe this is just one of those we gotta blow up the mothership things with the Dominators. Maybe Hawkgirl does die, which causes both sides to back down and focus on their true enemy, which could lead to a kind of fun Lion King Scar-like death for Shri Valkyr as the Thanagarians turn on their leader. Who knows? Honestly, it could go anywhere. And I wanna know what you think should happen. If you were to write the DCAU's Rann-Thanagar War in a fan-fiction-y way like I just did, how would you do it? Besides all those details, there could be way more fun jabs to make it the lore of this universe compared to the original. Like maybe Adam Strange doesn't initially have access to his usual suit and instead retrofits a Watchtower spacesuit, because they kinda look similar. I don't know. Leave your thoughts in a comment and share this video around. I want to see what everybody has up their sleeves. Thank you so much to everyone who supports the Watchtower Database over on Patreon. Signing up is super duper easy, and you can get early access to all of our videos for as low as $1. We've met some really fun people through Patreon, like everyone you see listed here, and adding you to that list would make it even funner. There's all sorts of other awesome rewards over there too, so head over to patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower to check them out. Thanks for watching this video, and be sure to subscribe for more stuff like this every Sunday. Okay, bye.
I'm also saying bye.